It happened suddenly. One moment, I was awake and moving through the rhythm of a normal day. The next, a sharp pain gripped my chest, and the world around me blurred into darkness. I felt my body fall, but I no longer belonged to it. I rose upward, weightless, leaving behind the frantic cries of those who tried to revive me. At first, there was silence, thick, heavy, endless. Then came the light. It wasn't sunlight or fire, but a living brightness that reached into me, knowing me, loving me, yet terrifying me all at once. My soul trembled as I drifted toward it. And then, visions began to open before me. I saw nations trembling. I saw men rising, their names lifted in praise by crowds, their faces appearing on screens. And among them, one figure loomed larger and larger, Kash Patel. His influence stretched, his voice grew louder, and his power rose like a tide sweeping over America. Crowds shouted his name. Followers looked to him as though he were a savior. Some hailed him as the hope of the future. Others feared him as a storm. But either way, all eyes turned toward him. His throne of influence rose higher and higher. And in that moment, the light around me spoke not in anger, but with the voice of authority that shook eternity itself. He rises in power, but the throne belongs to me. As I drifted deeper into the vision, I saw crowds gathered in every corner of America. Their voices rose like waves, chanting, praising, fighting, all centered on the names of men. Some raised Kash Patel's image high, believing his rise to power meant security and victory. Others cursed his name, trembling with fear of what his influence might bring. But in every crowd, I saw the same mistake. Eyes fixed on mortals, not on eternity. Men and women placed their hope, their anger, their faith into thrones made of dust. And as their voices thundered, the ground beneath them trembled. The light around me whispered with sorrow. Do you see how they cling to shadows? They believe the rise of a man secures their future, but the thrones of men are fragile. They do not last. They cannot save. I watched Kash Patel standing tall, his influence spreading like fire in dry grass. Every headline, every gathering seemed to magnify his name. Yet behind him I saw a shadow, a reminder that no matter how high a man climbs, he is still mortal. His power was real, but temporary, like smoke that dazzles the eye before disappearing into the air. And then, the voice of the king echoed like thunder across the vision. They exalt men, but I alone am exalted. They fight for thrones that will crumble, while mine remains unshaken. Tell them, every crown, every name, every seat of power will bow before me. For the throne belongs to me. The words burned into me, heavy with truth. I realized the danger was not in Kash Patel's rise alone, but in the hearts of the people who forgot where true authority lies. The vision widened, and I was lifted higher until I could see not just America, but the sweep of history itself. I saw kings and emperors, presidents and generals, their faces carved into monuments, their names shouted in streets. For a time, they ruled. For a time, they were feared and adored. But one by one, their thrones crumbled into dust. I saw great empires collapse: Rome, Babylon, kingdoms that once believed themselves eternal. Their rulers believed the world belonged to them, but time proved otherwise. Their crowns fell, their statues cracked, their armies scattered like leaves in the wind. The light around me spoke again. This is the fate of every throne of men. They rise, they fall, they pass into memory. But my throne endures from age to age. Do not be deceived by the rise of one man, for even the greatest among them will bow before me. And then the vision narrowed again to the present. I saw Kash Patel, his name rising on banners, his influence stretching across the nation. He stood on a throne made not of gold, but of people's faith in him. Some shouted his name in hope, others in anger. but all of them gave him power by their gaze. Behind him, however, loomed a far greater throne, radiant and immovable, casting a light that dwarfed every earthly crown. From that throne the king declared, "Men sit for a season, but I reign forever. They borrow power for a breath, but I hold eternity in my hands. Let them know, Patel may rise, others may fall, but the throne belongs to me." I trembled as I watched, because the vision was not just about one man. It was about the folly of a world that forgets the eternal king. The vision shifted from thrones to faces. I saw the people of America, millions upon millions, each with a light flickering in their chests. Some glowed brightly, steady and pure. Others dimmed and flickered, their flames nearly snuffed out. And some hearts pulsed not with light, but with shadows, darkened by anger, fear, and pride. I saw crowds rallying around Kash Patel. Some believed he was chosen, almost untouchable, as if his rise were divine destiny. They poured their hope into him, chanting his name louder than they ever prayed. I watched their lights dim as they placed their trust in a throne of dust. The voice of the king broke through the noise, grieved yet unyielding. "This is the danger. When they give to men what belongs to me, honor may be given, but worship belongs only to the Lord. Hope may be placed in leaders, but salvation comes only from me." Then I saw another group, small, quiet, yet radiant. These people prayed not for Patel's throne, nor for any man's crown, but for God's will to be done. Their lights burned steady, even when the ground shook beneath them. They respected leaders, but they did not cling to them. They bowed only to the eternal throne. And again the voice spoke, this time sharper, like a sword. "The hearts of my people reveal their true king. Those who shout louder for men than for me have already chosen idols, and idols will fall. Tell them, if they do not turn their eyes back to me, they will collapse with the thrones they worship." I wept as I saw hearts flickering, some growing darker by the minute. The warning was clear. The danger was not only in the rise of Kash Patel, but in how the people responded. The vision narrowed, and I saw Kash Patel alone. No crowds, no banners, no chants of his name, just one man standing before the brilliance of the eternal throne. His shoulders carried the weight of power, but before the King of Kings, that power looked small, like dust slipping through fingers. The throne radiated light, fire, and holiness beyond comprehension. Patel trembled, not as a leader, but as a soul. The same voice that had shaken me now thundered through the heavens. "Every man will stand here, every ruler, every influencer, every king and president. They will not bring their followers with them. They will not carry their crowns. They will stand as they are naked souls before the throne that belongs to me." I watched Patel try to lift his head, but the light was too great. It wasn't condemnation, it was truth, pure and unavoidable. His rise on earth meant nothing here. The question was not about his power, but about his heart. The king's voice pierced the silence. "Do not think the throne of men belongs to you. It was borrowed, it was given for a season, but the throne belongs to me. If you build for yourself, it will fall. If you bow to me, it will stand in eternity." I trembled because I understood. It wasn't only about Patel. It was about every leader, every person who believed power could save them. Before the eternal throne, all were the same. And again, the words seared my soul. "The throne belongs to me." The vision widened again, and I saw not only Patel, but entire nations. They rose like mountains and fell like sand dunes, their power shifting with every gust of time. Each nation shone for a season, flags lifted, armies marching, economies booming, yet every single one eventually crumbled. America stood in the center of the vision. Its people looked restless, clutching at leaders as though holding onto lifeboats in a storm. Some clung to Patel's rise as if he were their answer. Others fought bitterly against him, pouring all their strength into resistance. But both sides had the same problem. Their eyes were fixed on men, not on the throne above. The voice of the king thundered over the trembling earth. A nation that trusts in men will be shaken. A people who build on flesh will collapse. Only those who build on the rock will endure. I saw governments topple, alliances break, leaders struck down in suddenness no one expected. Panic filled the streets, and fear seized hearts. But amid the chaos, a remnant stood small but glowing with light. They prayed, they held fast, they lifted not the names of men but the name of the King. And while the nations raged, they remained steady, rooted in eternity. The King spoke again, his words cutting deeper than any sword. Tell them, it is not Patel's throne, nor any man's. It is mine. Nations may tremble, leaders may fall, but my kingdom cannot be moved. The vision left me breathless, because I saw clearly what so many refused to see. The danger was not in the rise of Patel alone. It was in the hearts of people who placed their future in the hands of mortals. The vision grew even more intense, and suddenly I was standing before a vast plain. Upon it were gathered rulers, presidents, kings, generals, leaders from every age of history. Some I recognized, others I did not. But all of them had one thing in common: their crowns were gone. Their power meant nothing here. One by one, they were brought before the throne. Some bowed willingly, their faces radiant with humility, having served not for themselves but for the glory of God. Others resisted, trembling with pride and fear, but even they could not stand. Every knee bent, every tongue confessed the truth they had denied on earth. The throne belongs to you alone. I saw Kash Patel among them. His rise, his influence, his name that had once stirred nations, all of it shrank to silence before the throne. He stood not as a leader, but as a soul, equal to all others. The weight of eternity pressed upon him, and I realized the same fate awaited every man, every woman, to stand before this throne, stripped of all but their heart. The King's voice thundered across the multitude. Do you see now? No throne of men survives this place. No kingdom outlasts mine. The crowns of earth are dust, but my reign is forever. Tell them, do not give to men what belongs to me. Tell them, every leader will bow. The sight shook me so deeply that I fell on my face, unable to lift my eyes. The truth was absolute, undeniable. Every rise of men was temporary. Every throne of earth was borrowed, and only one throne remained unshaken. The vision faded, and once again I was enveloped in the blazing light of the King. My soul trembled under the weight of everything I had seen. Leaders rising and falling, nations shaking, thrones crumbling, every knee bowing before him. I wanted to stay in that glory forever, but his voice came, steady and unmistakable. Your time is not yet. You must return. Tell them what you have seen. Tell them, the throne belongs to me. In an instant, I was pulled backward away from the light, through the veil, into the weight of my body. My chest heaved as air rushed back into my lungs. My eyes shot open to the faces of those who thought I was gone forever. They gasped in shock as I whispered my first words. I saw the King, and he told me the throne belongs to him. Since that moment, I have carried this message like fire in my bones. Kash Patel may rise, others may fall, but their seasons are short. The mistake is not in their leadership, but in our worship of them. Every man's throne is borrowed, every crown is temporary, but the kingdom of Christ endures forever. This was not a story meant to entertain. It was a warning, an invitation, a truth too heavy to keep silent. Do not cling to men. Do not fear their rise or their fall. Fix your eyes on the eternal throne, for only there will you find peace. And so I live with this burning testimony. I died, I saw eternity, and I returned with one message written into my very soul. The throne belongs to Jesus.